any level, AA, MA, MBA, MS, MSW, PhD, etc. Don't think I'm saying, oh man, that's that. You need to throw that stuff in the garbage, man. I am not saying anything close to that, right? And alhamdulillah, this is another thing about Houston. I don't want to embarrass anyone, but Imam Dr. Wazir, he's just an example. It's always, it's like, in order to prove something, all you need is just one case to say that it's a reality. Okay, so we got one case. Here we got more than that, but I'm saying Allah has provided us evidence here that no. The point is no. It's not either or. Well, you got to have that, that ibadah, and forget about all the rest of that. That ain't really that important. And the others say, no, you got to get that credential. You can't use that other knowledge that you have in the world. No, you have to have both. If you really want to impact the world, you just need to know how to halal the education that the institutions provide. If you go in there with your own filter and your own perspective and your own objective, it's no problem. Anybody can talk to you about anything, so you just filter out what's useful and filter out what's not useful and take in what is useful and keep on moving toward the mission that you will be able to use the tools that come to you vis-a-vis that credential to build the world that you have in mind before you stepped into the classroom. When we understand it that way, it's like, hey, yeah, everybody goes to school. But remember your ibadah. Remember the paradigm of al-Islam as far as education is concerned as you matriculate. Because if you ever leave the al-Islam behind, you lost. It's very important. But that's why we're having the conversation. So misperceptions that sometimes even influence the Muslims' pursuit of education personally and institutionally. So I've just mentioned about the personal side of it. Institutionally speaking, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, we are still, as a community, and speaking particularly of those allied with the vision of Imam Muhammad, his legacy, and the like, we're still having in some cases and still aspiring to formal institutional education. No, we're not there. We're not there yet. And alhamdulillah, and we thank Allah for those who are continue to strive for it, because the biggest room in everybody's house is a room for improvement. So the idea that we still have to attain in institutional Islamic education is that we have to have the right vision for the institutions that we build. We have to have the right foundations, right foundations for it, and so that's still happening. So what I'm saying is that we still have to watch out for and be conscious of how much of quote unquote modern education from an institutional perspective we subscribe to as we try to build Islamic educational institutions, especially here in America or in the modern world, modern time, what have you. Now, again, going back to yesterday, I spent a lot of time talking about the value of homeschooling. I talked the value of, the personal relationship between the teacher and the student, how that has to do, and the greatest relationship is going to be between parent and child. Quran talks about the mystic tie between parent and child. Tarbiyah means education, and also it means parenting. So that's God, through the language, is telling us the best teacher for the student is the parent. That's the best teacher. But then also this speaks to a part of the toxicity in the educational environment right now, is that if it is true that the essence of education is the relationship between a teacher and a student, I'm talking about that's the nature of it. Education in reality begins with the relationship between the teacher and the student. All right? If there's a good relationship between the teacher and the student, then education is going to be good, inshallah. Okay? But if the relationship between the teacher and the student is not good, then education is not going to be good, because that's the foundation, that's the cornerstone of education, the relationship between the teacher and the student. Okay, so now when we talk about our public institutions and even our private institutions of education, let's talk about when a Muslim student walks into a classroom, public instruction, private school, this is non-Muslim public and private institute, when they walk in there, is there a relationship that fosters the education that we're speaking of, which is education in reality? You know the answer. You don't have to, You know the answer. It's hardly any relationship at all. And don't let his name be Abdullah. He in the class, Abdullah. Abdullah, what is it? Not even talk about the bullying and the mockery and all the other things. What am I missing? I'm good? All right. Stay in your lane. So you got that. So I don't need to elaborate on that. These, if you hear what I'm saying, then all of these are reasons why we have to speed up, do more towards having our own educational institutions. And as I said yesterday, don't think that you have to have bricks and mortar, that you have concrete walls in order to say, we got a school. No. You have a teacher, you have a student, you have a school. That's it. When are we going to get our school started? You got a teacher? You got a student? School's already started. You just got to ring the bell. I said, school is in. Take me back to my MC Hammer role. Y'all don't like MC Hammer? What's up with y'all, man? So you get the point. The point is, if there's a teacher, if there's a student, then there's a school. The thing is that the teacher and the student need to understand what's involved in this education. When the student understands what's involved and the teacher understands what's involved and they walk that path of education together, oh man, it's just going to be marvelous. It's just, really, really. It's so much more than we can elaborate on right now. Alhamdulillah, as I mentioned yesterday, I mentioned here, and then I'll keep going, that mashallah, I have completed, let's call it 95% of what will be, mashallah, inshallah, the next book. And it has to do with, when I had that little moment of, maybe you wonder, well, what is he seeing? It's like, I'm seeing what the potential for an educated human being is, what an educated Muslim is. There's nothing in education in reality. There's nothing and no one that exists right now that is superior to a fully educated Muslim who's educated in reality. See, all you have to do is just go back to the Renaissance. Wasn't that a beautiful situation that was fostered by educated Muslims? The education of Muslims is what saved the modern world as it is right now, and what contributed and gave life to the modern world as it is. But these were Muslims who were educated in reality. Okay? And because they were educated in reality, that's why they were the leaders at that time. It was only when they lost the handle on that education in reality that they also lost leadership in the world. And then the ones who claimed the leadership of the world, they disengaged, they disconnected the rest of the world from education in reality and created a paradigm for education that would keep them in charge of everybody. They say, okay, now you religious people, you stay over there. You science people, you stay over there. Okay, you can just decide what you going to be? You going to be religious or you going to be a scientist? I guess I got to go with religion. Okay, well, you go over here. I guess I got to say, okay, you go over here. So then the world now moves along the line of this divided, quote-unquote, circumstance, and that's the world that we have right now. And it's not the world that Allah intends for us as human beings. Allah, the Khalifatul Ard, that has to do with bringing those things back together and educating on that basis. Okay. So let's look very quickly at those 5 points. So in the psyche of the modern society, these fundamental 5 are perceptions that are held at large. That education has nothing to do with faith in God. That education is all about the brain and the intellect only. That education has value only for how it can provide support for your life, self-support, jobs, careers, etc. Education has nothing to do with morality and character, and that education has nothing to do with life after death. Now, this list is not exhaustive, but maybe if there are some others that you have in mind that, as relates to, if you think you have seen something that's not identified on this list, either explicitly or implicitly, I'm interested in adding it. So I'll look at it and that'll be it. But for now, these five seem to me to cover basically the misperceptions that have distorted education in this society, these five things. And so the rest of the presentation is essentially around how does Islam, by nature, how does Islam put that to rest? Now, if the rest of the world doesn't believe these things, they would say, no, that may be for you, but that's not for us. That's fine. The rest of the world don't have to believe it. It doesn't have to believe it. The important thing is for us as Muslims to believe it. Because at some level, since we live in this world, since we live in this culture, we are at war. I'm saying that in the lightest possible way. From an ideal perspective, from an idea perspective, from an ideological perspective, from a philosophical perspective, we are at war with the world as it is because it is ideas that rule the world. See? And as long as a false idea is on top, then that false idea is ruling the world. So if we come with a new idea, then we're at war with the world's ideas such as they are. So it's like, don't expect the world to say, I agree with you. You just need to know, okay, well, it's like that, huh? Okay, let's go. So you have to have faith in your own idea. And you have to bring your idea to the quote-unquote battlefield or the market of ideas and seek to make it triumphant, right? I know my brother Tyree can cite this for us in Arabic. I'm going to say it in English. Allah is the one who revealed the religion of truth in order that it might prevail over all other ways, even though the rejectors don't like it. Am I putting you on too much on the spot? Can you hit that for me, Tyree? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Even though they don't like it. MashaAllah. And that's how we have to be. Even though they don't like it, we have to. So this is the position. So I'm just trying to provide you a little ammunition, let's call it, when it comes to let's go with it. First idea, that education has nothing to do with faith in God. That's a big deal. Education, in reality, and remember, whenever I use that English word education, you air quotes, just see quotes around them, because I don't mean what the world means when it says education, but that's the word that we've been given for that thing that we're talking about. But that's why I add the preposition education in reality, not just education in reality. Even like democracy. Do you know Al-Islam is not a democracy? Al-Islam is not a democracy. Now somebody somewhere there, oh my God, Islam is not a democracy? No, Islam is not a democracy. But we can use phrases like Islamic democracy. That's a qualification. Islamic democracy. Islamic democracy, in a word, would be shura. And it would take a whole lesson to talk about that. Okay, well, same way in education, right? We say education, then we say Islamic education. And I say, but Islamic education, again, sometimes when people hear that, that means you got to learn the Quran, you got to learn the Hadith, you got to become Hafiz al-Quran, you got to learn the fiqh, and you got to know. That's not what we're saying. That can be a part of it. But Islamic education is what I mean when I say education in reality. Meaning, I want what God wants to happen to us when we are being educated, when we become educated, when we say we have education. We want to make sure that we look at whatever that is and say, oh yeah, that's what God wanted us to have. If you don't have that, then you don't have education in reality. You got education, but you don't have education in reality. And what good is life if you don't get the real thing? right? Okay. So education doesn't have anything. Yes, education has everything to do with faith in God, right? Another verse in the Quran, I didn't, the grounds of this, I wasn't trying to make this